Welcome to The Way, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of legal business and marketing. Each week, we'll be discussing the latest trends, strategies, and insights that are shaping the legal industry. So whether you're a lawyer, marketer, or business owner in the legal industry, this podcast is for you.
Welcome back to another episode of the Para Era podcast. We have a special guest on this episode, Maggie. Maggie's an attorney. Her and I worked together at a previous firm. She was a law clerk at the time, so we didn't have too much because she was at law school. She would come in every once in a while when she's not studying her butt off. But now she's a full-on attorney.
Now I'm a Best Era groupie as well.
And we love it. We love it. She's part of our community at Best Era in our Slack. So if you have any CT car accident referral cases, she's your girl. But yeah, so Maggie, thank you for coming in and hanging out with us. It's always good to have a little guest appearance every now and then. So
yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Like every time you guys come out with something new to see like something I hadn't even thought of or different ways of marketing or looking at systems, it's so inspiring and I'm really glad to be a part of the community.
We love having you there. So what are some things that you, as a newer attorney, kind of want to see a change in the legal world?
So I think one of the biggest things that I have noticed is the lack of training is huge.
Yep.
There's a lot of like throwing people into a pit and expecting them to figure out how to dig themselves out of it.
Right.
What I've seen is they'll be like, okay, here's a caseload of 150, figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think especially in terms of that too, is a disconnect between paying value for good performance is another like key component that I feel like goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like because there's the two ways you could do something, like hiring somebody with experience and helping them adapt to your flow versus training somebody from the ground up and making sure that you have the proper supports in place to make sure someone is successful.
Yeah.
And there's always something more to learn or something that you didn't anticipate.
Right.
But really being intentional in the way that you scale or the way that you grow or the way that you introduce new team members. Yes. I would love to see more support in that area and more understanding of like what a team member can do and how to hone their particular unique skills to provide success within your firm.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really important. There's the old school way before we had so much technology and so many tools and resources to set attorneys up for success, set paralegals up for success. The old school way is like, you had to figure it out, and I think that mentality is something that with the new generation of attorneys, we're going to see improve a lot. Just like our conversations together, you are a forward thinker, and you don't just care about your own success and growth. I can see and I hear in you that you want your team around you to succeed, because if they're successful, you are, and vice versa. And having just like a collaborative environment. We were having conversation earlier today about, knowing everything that every role does as the attorney. Even to the extent of a paralegal, it's still important for the paralegal to understand the why behind what the attorneys are doing to better support themselves in their position. So, you can ask me to draft something, but why am I doing it? Like, what led up to this is important for, the seat, the paralegal seat, because they can then catch it earlier. They can then be the ones to say, hey, this just came in. Do you want me to start drafting this without you having to think about it? So I think that's important as well. But, I can see like your approach to not just your career and yourself, and you're just starting out, as an attorney, because let's not get confused. This woman has many degrees and is brilliant.
Thank you.
So I mean, you can probably speak to that as well. You were a nurse prior.
Yeah, so I was a nurse for a decade prior to becoming an attorney, and that has helped me immensely. But it's also, I feel like there's so many parallels between the medical field and the legal field, and kind of like even industry and market trends or practice trends too, in terms of like, you know, I had seen different offices, all paper files. And like, I've been through that on the medical side, and I've also been through it on the legal side, going from paper to electronic and some of the struggles.
Yes.
And obviously, like, what's going to be transferred is different, but the process is very similar. Or the, like, where the holes in switching come and how to deal with how hard change is for so many people.
Yes.
It's the same struggle.
Yes.
Similar to like private equity acquisitions. Like, okay, it happened in medical. We're seeing it start to happen in legal.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot we can learn too from how the medical field has dealt with things like electronic health records and how so many case management softwares are out there now and choosing through those and looking at the pros and cons. So I feel very fortunate with my background in healthcare, and not only healthcare, I used to have my own healthcare consulting business too, where I would look at things like that. I would look at like trends and how to set up staffing and how to do best practices and policies and procedures. So like I'm able to bring that, but I feel like it's a very exciting time in the legal field, as you were saying, like with so much technology coming out. And I feel like I'm always thinking like, okay, what can we do next? What's next? How can we optimize this? Can we make this PDF fillable into this case management software? Like, how can we, I'm so into the idea of like working at the top of your license and not reinventing the wheel or having a client fill out, 10 different forms where 80% of that form is the same thing every time. So I think it's a very exciting time, but I think one of the things that's been very humbling for me too is recognizing that change is hard for a lot of people, and getting buy-in so that people want to come along for the ride.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest questions that we get when we work with firms is, how do I get my team on board with this? And it's huge. But similar experience, like I went from paper files to fully electronic files, and that shift, people are very nervous now about AI and in the legal field. Like, not everybody, but paralegals especially, because now attorneys are using AI to draft things or review files. They put the information into a AI application and then it gives them a total review of it. But the way that I think of it is the same way that I thought of it when we were going from paper to electronic, and it's just progression, and it's not going to cut out our jobs, but it is going to weed out those who are not adapting to it, because this is where we're at now, and there's no chance it's going away, like, at all. It's just going to keep improving. So it is it's a challenge. It's scary at times to think about that switch, and how are you going to operate the same way? How do I get these tasks done now that this is done? But it's just all improvements, and it's going to help us, really streamline our work. And I think that if you're a firm owner and you have somebody like Maggie come in and have all these amazing ideas of how to improve your systems, I wouldn't take that as you're not on board with how we operate. No, take that as a compliment that person wants to be there and improve, because either you have really good culture in your firm and they want to be around good people, or you already have the systems in place and they don't need to, be the one to recommend or implement these things. And like Ryan and I talk about this a lot. It's like, send your best team members to the conferences. They don't have to be attorneys, But if you do have an attorney, maybe a junior attorney or an associate that's like really interested and kind of gives those ideas a lot, they should be the ones going to these conferences and exploring these different tools that can be implemented, because they're going to really explain it the best way when they come back, because they're going to be excited about it. So, I mean, that's how I feel about.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. There's certain things that I think AI can do, and I see it, eliminating some of the mundane task boilerplate things, but there's no substitute for human connection and creativity. Like, something has to feed the algorithms.
Right.
So there has to be still that, like, thinking outside of the box, and that's not going to be replaceable,
Right.
I don't think, ever.
No.
Another thing, like, that human touch and just making interactions with people, like, you can have the best...
Picking up the phone.
Right.
Like, pick up the phone and call them. It's another part of it is that if say paralegals were eliminated by AI, there's no chance that attorneys are calling their clients on a monthly basis, because they're going to be so overwhelmed. You need that person to be the human in the loop, as we like to say, to make that personal connection. And it's important, if I were to hire a firm, I don't want to communicate strictly through a portal. Like, I want to be able to at least talk to somebody every once in a while, because I think we're in this time where it's hard to know sometimes what is real and what's not when you're talking to a chat, not like ChatGPT or anything, but when you have a client portal and it's automated messages, like, is this really somebody saying this nice thing to me? Or, do they say this to every client? It's like, so being able to follow up and call them is really important. I mean, the clients that Ryan and I have, I call them. Like, I'll text them and say, hey, do you have time for a call? Because at the end of the day, it's like a lot to text. Like, I need details, and other questions are going to come up as they're talking. You get more information. And, clients are very grateful for speaking to somebody and not just sending a message.
And I will say, depending on your clientele, you could have the best tool ever, but if your clients can't figure out how to use it or interact with it, it's not going to help. So having that human being that can connect with them, and like, maybe they can't figure out how to fill out the electronic form that you send to every client on your intake. Like, come on into the office. Let's sit down. I'll help you fill it out. Let's do it together.
Yep. Even like discovery responses, like, elderly clients, they need a little bit more understanding. Maybe they don't have a loved one that can kind of help them through the process. So bring them in, sit down next to them, go through the answers, and explain them with them. Like, those are the type of people that are going to be the most appreciative, I think.
The importance of leadership, also recognizing the importance of those interactions, is something that I want everyone to start paying attention to. Like, maybe, having a paralegal or an associate meet with a client and do that, maybe you can't bill for that.
Right.
Maybe that you can't follow a metric and see how that's increasing, your firm's success. But it is. Sometimes there are intangibles that you can't measure that make a huge impact. Because, like you said, X, Y, and Z came into the office, you help them figure it out, and they're going to tell their family members, like, hey, I worked with Marissa, and she took the time to help me figure this out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, you can have, not to just talk about elderly people, but this has happened in real life, is that I had an elderly client who, same thing, they couldn't text or whatever, or they didn't have email. I was like, okay, if you can come into the office. They were like, oh yeah, I can come in, blah, blah. Okay, great. So they come in and they're here, living in Connecticut alone, but they have family. They just live out of state. I got a call from that woman's daughter, like the next week or something, out of the blue. And she was like, I just really want to thank you for taking good care of my mom. And I was like, oh, I didn't do this for, the thanks or anything. It's just like, you just have, good people just do good things, in my opinion. And that's hard to to train. You can't train somebody to be a good person. It's you can train them how to use systems, how to, communicate with clients properly, read off this script. But empathy is something that I think you're born with. It's something that it's just part of a person. Mm-hmm. But like I had a client, and we used case status. I sent him the link, and like I noticed he never accepted the invitation. So I called him. I was like, "Hey, I just want to ask if you got." He's like, "Oh dear, I'm sorry." He's like, "I'm a farmer and I have a flip phone. I'm not using that. Whatever you're trying to send me." I was like, "Oh, no problem." I just noted his file, and I would call him every time. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's not every single client, but you do make exceptions. There are exceptions to the rules.
Yeah, I think my ideal environment would be somewhere that has systems in place for, all of the foreseeable things that come up, but also the people who know how to act outside of that workflow.
Yes.
And adapt.
Being
because
creative.
There's always going to be something that comes up or something that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to figure it out.
Yeah. Fitfo.
Yeah.
Figure it out. But yeah, I really think that the way that the legal field is changing is it's going to be better for not just people at the firms, but also our clients. Mm-hmm. Communication is so much easier now because we have the time to actually communicate. With all of these systems in place, it frees that time up for us to get on the phone. Instead of rushing and having to send a quick text because you don't have time, we have the systems in place. And if you don't, you need the systems in place. And you need to have those people on your team that are willing to investigate what the best products are, what's right for your firm, because not everything, what's right for us may not be right for a family law attorney mm-hmm. or, a probate attorney. They need different tools to help them function at the best they can. Yeah.
And you were talking about law firm and law firm culture, and what I've noticed too. I think it's so important to think about employee retention. Yeah. I see a difference between two different kinds of firms. Mm-hmm. One that cares about retention and cares about its people.
Yes.
And the other that treats staff like widgets.
Yeah.
Like that they are replaceable. We're going to pay them the base market rate, mm-hmm. and this is it. And it's not always just capital or pay. Obviously, that's a huge factor in retention, but there's other things that matter too.
Yes.
Like, okay, if somebody needs to have a schedule from 9:30 to 5:30 instead of 9 to 5, like, mm-hmm. can we accommodate that with the needs of our clients? And like having that kind of balance of recognizing that the people who work with you or for you are actual human beings, mm-hmm. and like actually prioritizing what is going to make people want to stay.
Yes.
I think is a huge
Absolutely.
thing that I wish more people cared about.
I do too. And, having the team that obviously we all have to follow rules. We're at a job, we don't run the company. But when you give people the grace to tell you, like, this doesn't work for me, I can do just as much, but I need to shift this direction, understanding why they need that and letting them do it, they're going to be more loyal than, somebody that just comes in and does their work and then leaves. Like you want somebody that's going to be dedicated to not just their gains in employment, but also the gains of your entire firm. Mm-hmm. Somebody that really cares about the culture, really cares about the clients and you as an attorney and wanting to do the best to support you. Those are the attorneys that we can only dream to have or work for. And I see that in you, Maggie, being new to working as an attorney, you already see that for yourself in the future. You want to have a strong, collaborative, supportive community behind you that works with you and not for you, mm-hmm. So we need more people like Maggie.
Thank you. Well, and I've seen, some of your team's posts about how like poaching is something that's huge now. Or
Mm.
I've seen just so much paralegal and
Yeah.
associate turnover, and it's like even if you are just looking at it from an economic standpoint, it hurts you when people leave.
Oh, yeah.
You lose so much money when somebody leaves.
Absolutely.
So it's even from just the finances of it, like we have to start paying
Right.
attention.
Yeah. Yeah. If somebody's struggling, like there should be no excuse for that firm if somebody is struggling and has brought it to the attention of higher up. If you're neglecting your team at that point, that's a you thing, and that's why you have so much turnover, or you're just not vetting your candidates properly.
Yes.
You know, like it could be that as well. They just don't fit your firm's culture. And we do vision work with the firms that we work with, and we tell them, put your vision and values like on, or your values on your job post, because that's what drew me to CTF is I saw the values. I was like, wow, that's different. That I don't ever see that. So it stands out. Like, who are you? Like, who am I going to work for? You know, I want to know.
Yeah, I think it makes a ton of sense. And I feel like as I've entered the legal field, I've seen that there's good business owners, there's good attorneys,
Yep.
and there's good leaders.
Yes.
But I think it is like the unicorn
Yeah.
to be all three of those.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a team deserves.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think it's so important to like always keep training up.
Yep.
Like one of my like personal mantras is like, how can I do this better?
Yep.
How can I improve in this?
Yep.
So like going to different, education offerings,
Yep.
And even just finding your village.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm so thankful for
Yeah.
being part of the Best Era Slack.
Yeah.
Because, I don't have the 40 years of experience
Right.
in legal yet. And like just knowing like whose opinion to trust has been so helpful. Okay, like what phone service do you use?
Yep.
What do you think about, X, Y, or Z idea is so huge, because I think those are the three prongs that every firm should have. Somebody is good at leadership,
Yeah.
the legal work, and in firm operations.
Yes. And like you said, you don't have 40 years of experience yet, but you have so much other experience that those attorneys don't have that could benefit from you and your knowledge immensely. Like, especially PI, attorneys with your medical background, and also building your consulting, your nursing consulting. That's another addition. Like, how can I review these things now from a medical professional standpoint and loop that in to a complaint, an attorney? Like, how can we make this the best possible, complaint or whatever it is, demand, anything we can. So, that experience, like, it's a great community. Everybody is just so collaborative, and, we have fun in there. Like, we have
Yeah,
fun.
I
Like,
love it.
yeah.
I mean, you guys just started the music
Oh, yeah.
channel, and like that's been so fun. We were talking about
Yeah.
Hillary Duff and how awesome she
Yeah.
is. So yeah, there's the
Yeah.
social aspect, but
Yeah.
also like the
Yeah.
huge like uncountable
Yeah.
benefits
Yeah.
of just having the right people to talk
Yeah.
to and ask questions.
Yep.
The best advice that I can give to people who are in a similar position as me is don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of power in just asking questions and putting yourself out on a limb. And I feel like I've gotten so many beneficial, ideas or outcomes from just not being afraid to ask
Yeah.
questions, saying
Yeah.
like, hey, do you want to meet for a coffee? Even though, I've
Yeah.
never met this person before, but I've seen they've done great work. I've seen them, in lawyer magazines or
Yeah.
on LinkedIn, and just like being bold and
Yeah.
getting out there, I think can do so much.
I agree 1000% with that. And I think a lot of people are afraid to put themselves out there because they see the success of these individuals and they feel like, well, I'm not there yet. So I don't deserve a seat at the table, but you do. And putting yourself out there, learning from these successful business owners or, law firm owners, you're going to take that advice and you're going to instill it in your new practice, you know? And if they're willing to sit down with you and tell you this, they're willing to give you this advice so you can use it, you know? So I think it's very bold, and it's nice to see, like, not just somebody who is a, you know, veteran attorney, but, you know, you as a new attorney really, really trying to get every morsel of knowledge you can to better not just yourself, but the firms that you're going to work for, you know? And I commend you for that.
Well, I'll give you an example of when it has, like, helped in ways that, like, if you're scared, it wouldn't have worked. So I had somebody ask me about a mass tort claim, like an exposure to a chemical in the workplace. And I didn't know anything about this substance, but while I was thinking about
I remember this.
What would happen in a complaint,
Yep.
I said, okay, I remember this case that I learned about in law school, and it was this huge tobacco case. And I said, okay, I remember there was some sort of reasoning for this. So I look up the case from law school. I see the attorneys who, you know, filed appearances in it, and I look them up on Google and I call them. I said, hey,
brilliant.
Would you be willing to talk to me for 15 minutes? Like, I want to, you know, spitball some ideas. And they said, yeah, of course, I would love to talk with you. Oh. So, like, these guys who I'm learning about in law school are willing. That's one thing, too.
Yeah.
Lawyers like to talk.
Yeah.
So, sometimes even, like, a cold call can get you huge things. And then I think my other advice would be always follow up with a handwritten note. So, like, afterward, always send a handwritten card because, you know, time is valuable, and that's the only, you know, commodity that we can't get more of.
Yep.
So, like, honoring people's willingness to share time with you.
Yeah.
But also not being afraid to ask for it.
Right. Yeah. That's brilliant. I love that. I never, like, you know, I've done, like, research in cases, but you never really think, like, of contacting, you know, the attorney. That's good advice. Take it. If you're new and you come across it, there's resources, you know?
Yeah, and just, like, don't be afraid. Like, one of my other life mantras is, like, the answer is no.
Yeah.
And if you don't ask, like, you won't know if the answer might be yes.
Yes.
So just try it out. See if people are willing to talk with you, willing to help.
Yep.
Because a lot of people are in a place where they want to help, or a lot of people like to teach and might not have an avenue to do that.
Yeah. So many law firms that we work with, the owners of the firm, they've been attorneys for, you know, decades. And they're like, you know, I kind of just want to be like a mentor now. I want to start like some type of mastermind class to teach young attorneys. And it's like, but they can't because they don't have the time. They don't have the support to do it. But if you think about it like that's very important for, you know, the younger generation coming in, that the attorneys in their places right now want to do that, you know, want to give advice. But, you know, we may think, oh no, you know, they've been doing this for too long. So my little question is going to be like, oh, you know, yeah, go back to school. Like, no. But yeah, I think it's really important. And yeah.
Well, and that's one thing too, is I would say if you're in a position to help or sponsor or inspire or, you know, just support newer practitioners or paralegals, case managers, anybody in your firm who wants to learn and you see like great potential in them, like give them a marketing budget, give them an education budget, encourage them to go, you know, get coffee with so-and-so because even though that is not a measurable metric, it can yield such impressive results down the line.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing that I've noticed too, being, you know, newer in the legal field, is that I understand people might not want to invest in me yet because, you know, what can I do for them in the long run? But I think that's part of the retention too. Yeah. Like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah, exactly.
If you invest in me, I can make more money for you. If you invest in the systems and the equipment and the things that I need and do that in a way that's intentional, I can yield greater results for you.
And you could be the one that knows it. Like they don't have to be worried about, oh, how are we going to implement this? No, you're interested in it and it excites you and you want to make sure that everything is, you know, up to speed and used properly. So it is an investment in both aspects. Having that person that wants it and gets it. You know, we did our employee evaluations that way at the firm. Like, do they want it and do they get it? If one is a no, then something needs to change. Like, we need to reevaluate the situation. What's going on? How can we help you? If we can't help you, you're just not a right fit, you know? But yeah, I think it's super important. In any way you can, like, providing them that education. There's free webinars even, you know, like, give them the hour, not their lunch hour. Give them an extra hour outside of lunch to, you know, take that training, or, you know, get on a call with a senior paralegal at a different firm or that they know or whatever. But I think it's really important. A lot of, like, attorneys, you know, on the higher end of the firm, I guess, we don't know where they are a lot of the time. And it's like, oh, they're at a conference or they're at a CLE or, you know, a bar meeting or whatever. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, it would be nice if I could get some of that, you know, the people that need it the most. So.
Yeah, and giving newer people an opportunity to create their own book of business.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's not a lot for that either. So it ends up being something that people struggle with.
Yep.
And it's hard to advance within the profession. And we were talking earlier about, like, poaching and retention. And, like, my philosophy is, if you are creating an environment that is enriching and that is welcoming, you don't have to worry about any of those things.
Right. Yes.
Like, if you give back to the people who put into your system, like, so I used to train in Taekwondo, and the grandmaster,
What?
So the grandmaster would talk about, like, this pool of water, and that, like, not everyone can just, like, take from the pool of water. You have to give back into it too. So if you have these people who are willing to, like, give you their heart and soul and put so much effort in, or stay late, or come in on the weekends. Like, don't be like, no, we can't afford the overtime, or, oh, no, we can't do X, Y, or Z.
Yep.
Like, these people are here and they're buying in. They want to do good for you.
Exactly.
So recognize it and then give them that opportunity.
Yes, I agree 1,000%. And those are your biggest promoters too, because they're going to bring in so much business just by talking about your firm and how happy they are to work there, how great the culture is, and how, you know, how easy they can do their job because they have all of these things that allow them to get there. And you know, when they're out talking to people, they're gonna be like, oh, wait, didn't you say you worked for a law firm? Like, I need an attorney.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, like, here you go. And, you know, attorneys can't just go up to a client and be like, here, I will, you know, but we can. You know, I can go up to, like, wait, you should call my firm because that's what we do. You know, I'll get you connected with the attorney. They're going to be your biggest promoters, I think.
Yeah, we had, you know, paralegals bringing almost their own cases in because they're out there in the community, and the more people that recognize that you're a good person and do good work, the better.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But one last thing on the overtime. So there's two sides to it. You know, if you see somebody putting in the work and they work a couple hours overtime, if it's not your policy that they can't work overtime, you know, they shouldn't be reprimanded for that. If it's a policy, talk to them and ask them why. Because a lot of the time, they have so much work. They are so overwhelmed that they don't even realize how late they're working sometimes and realize they went over. But really, they just need some help. They just need help. And they need a breath of fresh air. But again, if you do have somebody that's allowed to work overtime, you can ask them, like, can I see the product? Like, are you working? Yeah, I'm working my butt off over here. And, you know, it's happened to me. You know, I was covering two different case file, like my caseload and another paralegal's caseload that was away on vacation for a long time. and it was litigation. So I had like 200 something litigation files. Half were not mine. So that's one issue right there. And so I'm, doing discovery responses and trying to get interrogatories filed on time and all this stuff. So I'm staying late because if I don't, we're going to get, a default. And I'm like, I got to do it. And, it was only like a week or two that I worked a couple days overtime, but it was really necessary. And like, nobody talked to me, nobody said anything, but I just get a random message that was just like ripping me apart. And I was like, oh, but you didn't even ask why I was staying. Like, that was the biggest thing to me, is that you didn't even ask me why. Ask me why I'm there first. If my answer is just like, oh, because I was talking too long during the day with my friend and I got distracted, so I had to get this done. Okay, yeah, I should probably be in trouble for that, But like, if there's a real reason your team is staying late and you're not asking why, then that's a culture problem at your firm.
Well, and ultimately, like you said, like, you want to create a culture where overtime is not the norm.
Right.
But, like, if you're on trial, if somebody's out sick, if, a huge thing happens, and you have a team that wants to work hard for you, it's important, I think, to recognize them. But
absolutely.
It should absolutely not ever be the norm.
No. Right. But yeah. Well, thank you all for joining us. Our last part of it, what we always do at the end, is ask, what are you watching, reading, or listening to currently?
Okay, so my wife and I have started rewatching some old shows. I never watched Vampire Diaries. So now we're like going through all of the seasons, and then we're also watching Once Upon a Time.
Okay.
So a couple oldies, we're throwing them back, but we've been super into that.
I love it.
What about you?
Me, I love the show Alone.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but it's this I think it's like starts out with like 15 contestants, and they're just dropped off like in the middle of the Arctic Circle or crazy places in the world alone, and they have to survive. And I actually just finished the last episode the day before yesterday, and I will tell you, I've never been emotional at the end of an Alone show, and I was actually emotional because I was just like, he deserved that. Like, I just was so happy. It's a really great show, and I make fun of myself when I tell my husband, I'm like, I watched Alone, I can do this. Like, I can start this fire without a starter log. Watch me. I can't.
I love that.
But yeah, that's what I'm watching.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Hopefully you'll be back again as a guest.
Hope so.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Way with Best Era. Be sure to visit our website, bestera.io. From there, get more resources, insights, and to connect with us directly. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. That way you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep striving for your version of success.